The Ukrainian Air Force continues with its daily deadly strikes, showcasing both precision and persistence. In the latest operation, a MiG-29 crew delivered a pinpoint attack using a French-supplied Aasm hammer, obliterating a concentration of Russian troops and ammunition in the south. As Ukraine adapts Western technology to its Soviet-era platforms, its air capabilities are evolving into a powerful tool of disruption and deterrence on the battlefield. No place is safe for the occupiers. A Russian deserter has described how Russian evacuation teams loot bodies for items to trade for alcohol and leave the wounded to die. He had most of his teeth pulled out to force him to join a stormtrooper squad, after which he deserted and fled to Germany. 34-year-old Anton Shershin says he was forced by the Russian police to sign a military contract after he crashed his car and ended up with a 200,000 ruble, $2,500 debt, which he couldn't pay off. Despite being rated unfit for service, he was told if he could walk, he was fit. Shershin was sent for a week of training, consisting of firing 2 clips from an automatic rifle before he was sent to the front. His commander decided he would be more of a danger with a weapon to his own side than to the enemy and assigned him to evacuation duty instead. Evacuation teams recover the dead and wounded, but have to perform grueling work at very high risk to themselves. In many areas of the front, constant drone attacks have made evacuation of the wounded nearly impossible. A serious or immobilizing wound often means death. The evacuators worked in 2 teams of 6 people. Every night they had to travel 5 to 6 kilometers each way between the dugouts and the front line, with 1 stretcher between them. They made 2 trips per night for a total distance of 20 to 24 kilometers, carrying bodies and injured men. There was plenty of work for them to do. Ukrainian drone footage shows that in areas of the front line, dozens of bodies, both Ukrainian and Russian, lie unburied alongside frontline positions and routes. The wounded were collected at the end of the route by a vehicle that took them to a local field hospital, while the dead were identified by their dog tags. Frequently, the wounded died en route. If a drone flew in or a mortar attack started, we would simply scatter in different directions, abandoning the stretchers, Shershin says. And when it was all over, the one we were carrying was no longer there. Either a grenade dropped by a drone killed him, or a mortar attack. Then we would simply take the stretcher and leave, saying on the radio that we were going empty-handed. It was absolutely necessary to take the stretcher. No one would give us any replacements. The group leader said that there used to be no stretchers, and the corpses were simply hoisted onto the shoulder and dragged. Shershin says that looting the dead is commonplace, with their weapons being smuggled off the battlefield to be traded for illicit moonshine alcohol. The weapons are likely being sold on to criminals. The evacuators keep other loot for themselves. According to Shershin, the exchange rate is 1 weapon for 1.5 liters of moonshine. Corpses are preferred for weapons smuggling, as you can only fit 1 assault rifle under a wounded man, but can hide 2 under a dead body. The turnover among the evacuators was high, due to the constant threat of drones. They lived a nocturnal existence, sleeping all day in a cellar and going out at night. They often had to carry back the corpses of their fellow evacuators who had been killed the night before. Shershin served as an evacuator for only 6 weeks, but this was enough to make him a veteran. He says that in that time, the team's membership changed almost 3 times, as nearly everyone else was killed. We had a turnover of about 30 people. On the second night, we were carrying a man from our team back about 40 minutes after we left. A Baba Yaga heavy drone dropped a grenade next to him, and he was completely wounded by shrapnel. We waited for the drone to fly away, threw him on a stretcher, and went back. In serious condition, but we carried him. They loaded him into a UAZ. I never heard from him again. In the first week, the commander and I were the only 2 of the 6 who returned. 4 were killed. And a couple of weeks later, it was the same. By the end of the month, we no longer remembered each other's call signs. What's the point if in a couple of weeks at most, you'll either leave there wounded or a corpse? Some of the team decided to cripple themselves so that they would be sent home. One man detonated a grenade fuse in his hand to blow off his fingers, but was taken away for punishment when the grenade ring was found. probably being sent to his death in an assault squad. Shershin looted a vial of painkiller, a prized find, from a corpse and injected himself with it before deliberately stepping on a PFM-1 anti-personnel mine. It didn't detonate, despite him jumping up and down on it. Other men shot themselves to escape from the front line. After Shershin had spent a month and a half at the front line, the army needed more men for assault duty. The evacuators were rounded up and told that they had a choice of becoming stormtroopers or being zeroed out, killed, by their own side if they refused. A warrant officer lined us up. Another guy from our group and I went out and said that we would not go on the assault. The warrant officer replied, "Then we will zero you." And I said that he could zero us out right here, rather than there, under mortars. They took us to the front line and put us in a dugout, which was often under fire. They said that they would come in the morning to zero us out. But in the morning the military police came for us. He and the other refuseniks were taken to the notorious Concentration Rehabilitation Center in the village of Zaitseve, where the local house of culture has been turned into a torture center with hundreds of men at a time imprisoned in the basement. According to Shershin, the site's torture room was located directly above the basement and was referred to as the fun room. The men imprisoned below could hear the screams coming from it. They were taken one by one to be tortured in turn. They sat me in a chair and tied my hands with handcuffs and belts and taped my head with scotch tape, says Shershin. Then they hit me, put some iron in my mouth so I couldn't close it, and started pulling my teeth with pliers. When they pulled out the third one, I screamed that I agreed to sign everything. The pain was unbearable. My hand was moving, and they shoved a paper at me. I signed, and they said, "So that you don't refuse anymore, we'll pull out more for you." And they started pulling out more teeth. They loosened them, broke them in half. I don't know how long it lasted. It seemed like an eternity. And they laughed and joked. He was released with only 3 teeth remaining and was taken back to the basement, where he was given painkillers. Barely able to walk or speak, he was taken by truck to the village of Krinky in the occupied part of the Kherson region, near the Dnipro River. The battalion commander was there. He looked at me and said, "What kind of meat did you bring me?" He asked what they did to me. I answered that they pulled out my teeth. He ordered me to be taken to the medical unit. He acted humanely. Shershin was treated locally for a month before being sent to Rostov and then to a hospital in Sevastopol. He was set to go through a military medical commission to assess his fitness to fight, but was informed by a medic that everyone would be rated fit in any case. An officer informed the men that the battalion's assault unit had been wiped out and they would go into the next assault in place of those who had died. Shershin decided to flee. He took a taxi from Sevastopol to Ufa, a 2-day journey of some 2,500 kilometers costing 70,000 rubles. Battalion Flying Skull Unmanned Systems Forces destroyed 2 MTLBs and struck another BMP on the Pokrovsk front. The Pokrovsk front has become one of the most fiercely contested zones in Ukraine. On June 8th alone, Ukrainian forces repelled between 47 and 65 Russian attacks, with 25 separate engagements reported just that morning. Of these, 24 were successfully held back by Ukrainian defenders, and 1 remained ongoing. The most intense fighting is now concentrated east of Pokrovsk, near Kostiantynivka, where Russian forces are pushing beyond the Pokrovsk-Kostiantynivka highway in an apparent attempt to flank or encircle Ukrainian positions. President Zelensky confirmed that Pokrovsk, along with Lyman, remains one of the hottest directions on the front, stressing that Ukrainian troops are doing everything possible to contain the advance. President Zelensky: "We were ready to accept every proposal, in one form or another, put forward by members of the Trump administration to both sides. We supported them all. Russia didn't support a single one. So who doesn't want to end the war?"
We were ready for a stable and lasting ceasefire. We were ready for a 30-day ceasefire. We were ready for a ceasefire until the leaders' meeting. We were ready for a ceasefire in the sky, on land, on water, at least to start with something or entirely everything in one form or another. Various representatives of the Trump administration offered proposals to both sides. We supported all proposals. Russia did not support any proposal. So who does not want the war to end? This is not a rhetorical question. It is a very specific, clear question. And there's no need to turn this topic into philosophy. If the parties do not want, then we need to wait a little. That is not true. Our side wants. We did not want the war to start. We were not going to surrender to Putin. We are not ready to accept ultimatums, and we want to end the war. We are ready for a ceasefire, for a specific ceasefire proposed by the American side, which we saw as a guarantor, and then the control of the ceasefire, and as a mediator.
German firm Quantum Systems unveils Mosaic UXS, a digital platform to coordinate and manage diverse drones, air, land, sea, via an open interface. Part of the UXS alliance with ARX Robotics to boost NATO defense.
What happens when a mission is truly networked? Introducing Mosaic UXS, the scalable mission control software, planning, connecting, and orchestrating unmanned systems across air, land, and sea, seamlessly integrating into one operational ecosystem, fusing all sensor data in real time, and with AI power into one clear picture. Across multiple domains and vendors, you manage the mission as a whole, with significantly reduced cognitive load for the operator and massively gained tactical dominance for your mission. Target acquisition and strike system seamlessly interoperate. Mosaic UXS is designed for smarter and faster decisions, with clarity and confidence, while keeping control where it belongs, with a human in command. Future ready, with open interfaces for easy integration. Because right decisions don't just happen, they're built. Mosaic UXS, the unmanned layer.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week at 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.